Matt Engel with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and there is my good friend, the always chipper and happy Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., who suffered through the pain of watching the Dallas Cowboys today play live and in person in Maryland and get their fannies kicked by the Washington Red Tails. I'm calling them Red Tails because I like it. Final score 25-3. Clarence, you've covered the Cowboys for a long time. You ever seen a team as bad as this one?
This is the worst loss I've seen in a long time, and I've covered the Cowboys a long time. This is bad. Just based on the talent and expectations and what you saw on the field, it was listless. And to come up with a performance like that after you had a week of finger pointing and everybody getting mad at the reporter and getting mad, and you would think that would at least spur some motivation for a better performance. But this was the worst one, and so that tells you that Mike can't reach this team. And really, you saw it when Dalton got hurt. A dirty hit, a cheap hit by risking a defensive player, and not one Cowboys player got mad and got in Bostic's face. Not one of them. Mike McCarthy talked about at the game. He wants the team to fight for each other. They did not do it. That's been a problem all season.
Clarence, obviously, there was a lot of talk about Jane Slater's report where she quoted some anonymous players who were pointing the finger at Cowboys coaches, said they didn't know how to coach, teach, etc. And my experience around these things, coaches are usually pretty mad at players too. But there's one part of this that I think is sort of getting overlooked, and it was sort of mentioned in the Mike McCarthy presser right after the game, is I don't know if anybody trusts anybody on this team right now. How could anybody, given the results of a new staff, trust anybody? I'm talking, how can players trust coaches? How can coaches trust players? And how can teammates trust themselves?
Or each other, and that's the issue, because they're not trusting each other, and it's easy for players to point at coaches, but to again, the lack of fight that you saw when no one got in Bostic's face, that's on the players. It's a lot of player breakdowns mentally and physically out there to get gashed on the run. He talked about the run defense. Run defense has been the worst run defense in the league, and it's not just. And he talked about today. Mike McCarthy talked about the fact that the yards after contact. I mean, they're in the right place, and then they're letting people just get yards and yards. That's fight. That's not been in the wrong position. That's not the wrong scheme. That's you. That's fight. You know, Trevon Diggs gave up that big touchdown pass to Terry McLaurin. That's you. You was on him. It wasn't a defense.
No, you were there. And the thing that I couldn't believe it. I mean, I could, but I can't believe he said it. They had Everson Griffin on the conference call after the game, and I said, "How is morale?" I mean, you're giving up points after points. You're falling behind. Any rational person would say, yeah, this is tough. And he said, morale is great. If morale is great, which I don't think he really meant it, but Clarence, if morale is great, that means they don't care. Do you honestly believe that?
No, I just think he's trying to say the right things. He doesn't want to throw teammates in the weather. That's what he was trying to do. But why is he talking? Why was there not DeMarcus Lawrence there? Why is there not Jalen Smith there? Why is there not, one of the cornerbacks there, the defense backs, Xavier Woods, who's been here for a long time, is in his fourth year. It shouldn't be Everson Griffin the one talking after the game. There's some veterans out there that should have been talking after the game, and that's an issue. No one wants to talk. No one wants to own up to what's going on, guys. That should be held accountable. More so than a guy like Everson Griffin who is here. But again, this was. I mean, I don't know if I've seen something as disappointing and embarrassing as what the Cowboys put out there tonight. And that's that goes back to last week when they gave up that 69-yard run at the end of the game, which Nolan compared to a knife in his back. There was a lot of knives and backs today.
I was going to say, Clarence, the last time I saw a team that looked quite like this was a little bit like the last year of Dave Campo. And that was at the end of the season when they knew he was going to get fired. Everybody on the staff knew they were going to get fired. They knew Bill Parcells was going to come in. So that team at least had not an excuse, but you knew what was coming.
But that wasn't a talented team.
That's the problem with this team. But Clarence, the thing that concerns me about this defense, so the offense, you give them a pass. You've got an offensive line that nobody recognizes. You give them the pass. You're on your second string. Now your third string quarterback. That's an excuse. You understand that. But Clarence, what about this defense? Save for maybe two guys, do you sit there and say, that's a talented unit. Nothing in my mind, nothing.
Oh, nothing they've shown. Nothing they've shown. And I keep going back to Diggs because everybody, well, Diggs good. He's the future. He's the future. The only play he made this year was when a guy gave up on the ball. And
On a touchdown pass.
On a touchdown. The guy gave DJ Metcalf. But I mean, really, and I'm not trying to kick his butt, but I mean, he hasn't knocked any balls down, intercepted any balls, done anything, and he gave up the touchdown tonight when they couldn't do that. Somebody has to step up and make a play, whether it's a rookie or a veteran. Somebody has to step up and do that, and they're not doing that. And so no one gets a pass here. No one.
Clarence, do you really think, I asked you this a couple weeks ago, maybe it's last week, I don't remember. I'll ask you now because I wrote about it. I don't know how Mike Nolan keeps his job. I'm not saying he's the reason. I think it's insulting to say that he's the reason, but I don't know Jerry Jones. Hang on. I don't know Jerry Jones to sit tight and do nothing. I can't remember if Jerry's ever made a dramatic coordinator change during the middle of the season because it's going to come from him. I asked Mike McCarthy about it. Like, no, that's not even on my mind. Do you see them doing this with Mike Nolan?
The question here is, and I guess the answer is there because if you fire Mike Nolan, who's replacing with?
Jim Tomsula? I'm guessing.
I would say George Edwards.
George Edwards.
Who's been a defensive coordinator, but he was a defensive coordinator in the 4-3. So do you change schemes? Who runs this scheme? The problem is you put this scheme and you made all the scheme changes. You change coordinators in the middle of the season. Who runs the defense and what scheme do you play and how do you go back to the basics? After you putting all this in, how does that make the team better? Unless you just want to change for change's sake just to make a point, you could do that. But I don't know that that's going to engender better performances.
The trade deadline is coming up. You and I both know this team is not just one move away from doing anything. Even in the NFC East, which could save anything or anybody, the Cowboys just aren't there. I mean, they got their butts kicked by a bad Washington team. Do you see them doing anything before the deadline, even maybe picking up a backup quarterback? Because now I've got to think Andy Dalton's going to be out at least a week.
Yeah, I just don't know. And what do you give up to do that? Because you still have cap strap next year, and who you go get? Who can you trade for that's going to help you and make this team discernibly better? I don't know. The sad part is they are still in the NFC East. They're 2-5. The Redskins are 2-5. The Eagles are 2-4-1 in first place, and the Cowboys play the first place Eagles next week in Philadelphia. Again, with first place on the line, and they're 2-4-1. But the thing about it is Mike McCarthy was not brought here to win a bad NFC East. He was brought here to put down the foundation of a Super Bowl team because he was a coach that could win. I want a proven coach, Jerry said, because I want to win. He can win, and we can win now. I want to go through the growing pains of a young coach and all that other stuff. Mike McCarthy has let this team down. Let Jerry.
I totally agree.
Down. I mean, because this is not what he bought. It's not what he was brought here for. And again, I wouldn't say that the players have quit on him, but they're not playing for him, and he's not evoking anything inspirationally that's going to get guys to leave their all out on the field. After what went on this week, after what they dealt with this week in the media and all the finger pointing and the coaches and Jerry defending him on Friday and Nolan talking about the players making mistakes, to come out and have a performance like this after the week they had, no one's at home. When Mike McCarthy, no one's at home.
Clarence, and the thing that concerns me the most is I got to tell you, the tackling thing is effort. But man, my concern is we might not know the difference with some of these guys in terms of whether or not they're trying at their best. Like for some of these guys, this might be their best, and they just might not be very good, which to me is the most concerning sign, is that you've got guys who are trying, and they're just not good enough. And I look at Xavier Woods. This is probably who Xavier Woods is. That first touchdown, Rob, it was embarrassing.
It is who he is, but some of this stuff is contagious. It's like COVID play because CeeDee Lamb has been great all season. 2 drops, a false start that basically killed a drive. Even your special players aren't special. It's just not the defense, but on offense, the guys, our difference makers on offense, they're going to make things easier for the quarterback. They're going to make plays, make big plays. It's not happening. It's not there. You go from Zeke, and again, that was a bad pass by Dalton. That was behind Zeke. Could he have caught it? Yes. But
it was a bad pass. You're right. It was a bad pass.
It was a bad pass, but outside of that, he has not been a difference maker. And you paid $90 million to be a difference maker.
Clarence, can a running back be a difference maker behind an offensive line that bad? I know what you're saying, but I'm sorry. When you're 4/5 of your offensive line are guys off the street, and you got a quarterback who can't do the same thing that the other guy did. 14 can't do what 4 did. I'm with you on Zeke, but at the same time, like my expectations for him, even though he's been paid the king ransom, if you're running behind those guys, you could have been a combination of Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton. I think you'd still be getting killed.
Well, my thing with Zeke and some of the issues he's had is that, okay, it's fine if you can't be a difference maker, but you can't be a deterrent either. And the turnovers have been a deterrent.
No doubt.
So there's, okay, fine, you're not going to put us on your back, but you can't take us down either. And some of your big time players have taken you down. They have not been special. They have not shown, they have not added to they've added to the woes instead of, made a difference for you. And that's the problem. Because you look on the Washington, they got a quarterback that's off the street. Kyle Allen's off the street.
No, but I mean, but Clarence,
the running back is off the street. He's off the street.
He is. No, he totally is. He's
not a franchise quarterback. He's just a guy.
No way. We both know that. But I do think in terms of when we evaluate this roster continually, I still think it's one of the biggest failures of people like me who cover this team is because we slap a star on the side of their helmet like, well, they're pretty good. No, they're not.
Well, we didn't do it.
I'm not talking about Zeke.
NFL Network had about 10 Cowboys in the top 100. They just us. No. I'm making one. Put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby. Don't put that juju on me, okay?
But I mean, like, I'm talking all the media.
I know.
Just me or you.
I know.
It's a problem with everybody. Like, oh, this guy's really good. Clarence, Tank Lawrence, you're damn right. He needs to come out and show his face. Like, own up to this a little bit. Own this. This is on you. I know. No one can sit here and tell me that guy doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. He wasn't bad today. I mean, he had a seconds for losses. But he needs help too. It's just across the board, and it's a consistency. You get it on one drive, you don't get another drive. But it's just football. This is 2020 football. No one runs the ball. It's a passing league. The Cowboys can't stop the run. The basic.
That's embarrassing.
They can't run and can't stop the run.
No, but Clarence,
that's Matt McCarthy. Stop candy coating it. They can't even do the basics.
No, it's embarrassing. It's Brad Sham said it on the radio broadcast a couple weeks ago. It's unprofessional. And when Brad Sham, who's a Cowboys fan, says unprofessional to describe the Cowboys defense, it's not exactly he's sitting there, he's Stephen A. Smith ready to kill the Cowboys. Brad loves the Cowboys. I about fell out of my chair when he said that. Clarence, the one thing we've seen with Jerry as he's evolved as an owner and as a GM was this is a guy who had a quick trigger finger when he was young, and he would change the coach too early, like Chan Gailey. He always regretted it. Other moves were sort of knee-jerk. Then he goes to Jason Garrett and he says, hey, I'm trying to stick through this. I want to see some real results by sticking through it. Well, these results are awful. Do you see him? Because he's going to be the one to have to make the change. It's not going to be Mike. Do you see Jerry doing anything between now and the end of the season that is – I'm not talking about signing a guy off the street. I'm talking about a dramatic move, firing a coordinator, demoting a coordinator, doing something like that.
I think you got the bye week coming up. I think it's after the Eagles game. And I think that's the time that if something's going to happen, that's when a change on some level will be made.
Do you think, you're introducing that's a perfect time to do it. You got a 2-week window to make some changes. Do you think he'll actually do it though? And how Jerry has changed and evolved as a GM, do you think he'll actually do it?
Well, see, again, that's what I was saying is that if you're going to do it, you have to give time for a new guy to get something in place or and decide what you're going to do and how you would go forward, which is why you just can't do it now. And again, whether it's George Edwards or Jim Thomasula, replacing Mike Nolan. And again, we're just talking about that because that's Mike McCarthy's boy. And I know Mike McCarthy doesn't want to change his boy, but if they do, and that's really the only spot you really say a change needs to be made, or it has to be made that's going to at least resonate with someone, you're going to do that during the bye week because you have more time to do it. But the question is, who will it be? That's up in there. And then let's go back. Should Mike McCarthy take over play calling from Kellen Moore. I mean, Kellen Moore was great when Dak was out there. He's not been so good with Dak not out on the field.
Funny how that works, doesn't it? I'm going to ask you about two more guys and let you go. I know you got things to do in D.C.
I got to finish
Leighton
writing.
Vander Esch. What's that?
Got to finish writing, sir.
Well, there's that in your job. Leighton Vander Esch came back. He briefly had a moment, and he actually looked pretty good. Now, I
Really?
want to temper that. Well, hang on.
He's part of the run defense. He's a linebacker.
Hang on. No, he didn't. But he didn't get hurt. Well, he had one little moment where you thought he was going to get hurt. But, Clarence, do you ever think we're going to see the Leighton Vander Esch that we saw as a rookie?
No.
Neither do I.
Or, you know, I just don't see it, and it's just it hasn't shown up since he's been back, and I don't know what the deal is, and certainly there's some rust there, but you know he's not being helped by a defensive line that you know your linebackers, the best linebackers, they usually play when they can run to the ball because the defensive line is, you know,
pushing it
good up front, making push, and they can just run to the ball. He's not helped because the defensive line is off. The tackles are off.
Last guy I want to ask you about, we've talked about him before, but considering his story, considering his contract, considering everything about him, what do the Cowboys think of Jalen Smith? I know what they tell you. I know what they say to me, but what do you think they think of Jalen Smith?
I think they think he's the best linebacker they got on the field right now. I mean, and again, that's not saying much because, you know, no one's making plays on that defense, but this is not a Jalen Smith issue. This is a Cowboy team issue.
No. We're not blaming Jalen Smith for this. I'm asking you to evaluate the player individually because if they're steamrolling towards a 3-win season or a 4-win or even a 2-win season, they're going to do some stuff. Guys are getting cut. And I'm talking about what do you think? Because to me, when I look at Jalen Smith, this guy's smart. He really can't move the way he once did. I just don't see a guy can really move the way he once did. And I'm wondering if the Cowboys think this is just kind of what he is. He's pretty good, and we'll see some flashes. But the guy we thought we were going to get healthy out of Notre Dame, we're probably not going to see him.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think they're going to see that. I mean, I don't expect – I mean, I've said this before. The fact that Jalen's playing again after the knee injury he had is a miracle in itself. And I never thought it was going to be Ray Lewis. And certainly he had some moments there when you know, he showed some flashes a couple of years ago, but I don't think he's gonna get a Ray Lewis, you know, and be that type of defender. And people keep looking at his contract. He's not getting paid that much. That's a backloaded contract. He makes less than Crawford this year. He makes $5 million this year. It's not like they paid him a lot of money and you're supposed to get, you know, that type of performance. They didn't pay him that much money. And
you know, speaking of that, and I'll let you go. Randy Gregory was travel with the team. Did he play today?
He did play today.
Did he do it? I mean, I didn't even notice him. Did he do anything?
Yeah, I don't know how many snaps he played. I'm looking for it actually because I thought you were going to ask me about Gregory. You asked me about Smith, but you know, Jalen and Leighton Vander Esch led the team with 12 tackles today. But Gregory had registered no stats, no tackles.
All right. Well, so first time he played since 2018. I don't know why we were expecting, you know, for this guy to be the second coming of Richard Dent or something crazy or Ed Jones, but at least he played and did something. Clarence, I know you've got more important things to do. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy DC. The Cowboys suck. Don't worry about it. They're going to come back next week and lose to Philadelphia by 80 points.
But the Eagles don't have any running backs, so they won't be able to.
Oh, then it's fixed. Yeah, okay. That's great. Thanks for building up the expectations.
There you go. The best running back is out for 4 weeks.
Oh, then that's good. They're going to win. Cowboys are going to win it all. Thanks.
Texas won.